Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking to you about judging criteria that you may not have ever heard of for cosplay competitions. So let's get straight into it. So today I'm going to be talking to you about cosplay competitions and what the judges are looking for beyond the criteria that they give you. We all enter cosplay competitions prepared with judging criteria, and there's a lot of information available online for a lot of these competitions, past entries, past winners, etc. A lot of this is available to us and we have all these resources, but we don't know what's in the judge's head. So what about things that aren't in that criteria, things that we don't see? How many elements are they actually looking for? Do I really need a wow factor? Will the judge's experiences or opinions impact me? And will anything that I've posted online impact how I'm judged in the competition? So if you're interested in these answers, that's what I'm going to go into today. So hopefully you stick around and let's get straight into it. Whee! So the first point that I want to touch on in this video is quality versus quantity. So what I'm referring to here is elements and techniques that go into a build or in any costume. So a lot of people consider this when they're picking their costume, which is great. It's awesome. That said, make sure that you have enough time that you can do those techniques well. So I've been behind the judging table on a number of occasions, but for the purpose of this video, I also asked other judges to give their input. So the overriding opinion of those judges was essentially quality over quantity. It's great to have a lot of techniques. It's great to have a lot of elements in your costume. That said, if they're not done well, they're going to hinder you points rather than give you points. So in general, my opinion on this is if you can't do it well, just don't include it. Also, you should consider that if it doesn't service the final result in a positive way, then it's probably not going to give you any bonus points. So I'm going to talk to you about a story from a few years ago. So a few years ago, I was working backstage. I was at an event. I was in the judging room making sure that everything was going smoothly. And essentially, there was one costume that it was amazing. It was definitely a standout from all of the rest. That said, their prop fell below the bar. They used all these beautiful elements and techniques in their costume, and then it fell short when it came to the prop. Similar elements and techniques. I'm not a prop expert. I'm not very good at props myself. And that's what cost them the competition in the end. It was poorly executed techniques on one part of their costume. And the cost of the award went to somebody that did a variety of techniques, but they did them well. So keep that in mind when you're going into the judging room as well. If you haven't done it well, don't include it in the costume. So the second point that I'm going to go over in this video is wow factor. So according to the Oxford Dictionary, wow factor is a quality or feature which is extremely impressive. Thank you, Oxford Dictionary, for that very detailed explanation. So this is a super interesting subject, and this is the first thing the judges see, and the judges will remember you for, and it will be the first thing that an MC also points out on stage. So overall, wow factor is something very, very hard to define, and it will come down to the individual judge's interpretation of the term and how they see that as a wow factor, for example. So there's a lot of things that you need to consider when you're thinking about adding a wow factor. Similar to the quality versus quantity piece before, is you need to do it well. So it could be really impressive to make a really big, massive costume, but something that should come into play when you're thinking about this as well is if you have had no consideration for the safety and you're just a walking statue on stage, then it's going to cost you points more than grant you any points. It's not gonna make you stand out from the crowd. You're just gonna be standing there. You will be out of the crowd, but you also won't be able to move with the crowd. So walking statues, a lot of the time, they're big, they're impressive, but it may lose you points because you can't move, because you don't have that movement on stage, and you can't express characterization or anything like that on stage like other people can. So another wow factor that I've seen in competition is detailing. And this is absolutely awesome if you've got a pre-judging section beforehand and you can point out small details and small elements. That said, you've got to make sure that you do it right. Just like with any big builds, you have to make sure that it's done well and the quality of everything overall isn't impacted by the additional detail that has been brought in. And you also have to make sure that you consider every single choice if you're going to add extra detail, and you have to think about it. So I did this with my Azura costume, which won me the Adelaide round of Cosplay Odyssey last year. And I considered where she came from in the game, where her inspiration for her character came from, and used not only traditional, but I also tried to use some modern techniques as well. So essentially, when you're thinking of the extra detail that you put in the costume, make sure it's relevant. And keep in mind that over detailing a costume for the sake of it will probably cost you more marks than actually bring you marks. And just something to definitely keep in mind when you're deciding on any extra details. So the next point that I'm going to touch on is a judge's opinion and experience and how that affects you in the judging room. So this is a pretty big topic. The first point I want to say here is how much experience and opinions actually play into marking themselves. Obviously, competitions are subjective, and other than things like sporting events with clear set, winning, losing sort of criteria, opinions are always going to come into play. This is how competitions work, really, but I'm going to touch on a couple of specific points. The first question I ask judges if they've ever marked somebody down for using a technique differently to themselves. And the general feedback that I got from that is as long as it achieves the result, then it doesn't matter what technique they've used. However, when you go into a judging room, you should be able to justify why you've used that specific technique and demonstrate you've done research to use that technique. So if you've done something different, it's going to take a little bit more explaining. Using your own techniques or different techniques is a great way of expressing your creativity. And in the end, it's a creative medium. So yes, we should definitely explore these options. However, if you're doing something different, I would highly recommend you prepare an explanation. Some of the people I asked mentioned that they mark people up for using techniques they haven't heard of before. That comes with its own issues in my opinions, because a lack of experience from a judge can sway the competition in a negative way and create an unfair competition. However, look, I'll let you create your own opinions on that. If you do have any, pop them in the comments. This goes into my second point. A judge's lack of knowledge impacting the overall outcome of a competition. In most cases, they'll refer to other judges to fill in the gap. However, it's hard to say no for any judge to this question. Not all panels are created equal, and there'll always be lots of times where there'll be a gap in knowledge. The fun part about this entire section is that when I ask those judges, those same judges, about when they've entered competitions themselves, they also feel that they've absolutely been overlooked due to the lack of knowledge from the judges that they've been judged by. This is a constant debate in the cosplay community. The most prominent example I can think of this is the whole sewing and armor debate. People do opt out of entering competitions because of the judges when they're announced, because they feel like that their work will be undervalued. So the final point that I want to touch on is your online presence and how that can impact judging. In the cosplay community, everyone tends to know one another, at least in your local community, and it's hard to avoid everyone's progress. There is a limited amount of time in the judging room, and more often than not, it's around the 5-minute mark. And the additional insight can be useful to the judges. When I ask cosplayers who have judged competition, this has a lot of mixed answers. 99% of the answers saying that the whip has impacted their prime judges, both in a positive and a negative way. However, overall, it comes down to how it looks on the day. If it's something that does concern you, however, do definitely bring a portfolio to show your progress. So that's it. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and hopefully it's giving you some good insight for the next competition you enter. I have actually put this whole video into an article, and you can see it down below in the link in the description. Just go straight to my website. I do have a public service announcement, however, before you click on to the next video, there is a red button, like around here somewhere, and it's got the word subscribe on it, and I'm going to need you to press it. Trust me, there's only good things beyond the subscribe button. So just click it and join the strawberry patch. I like strawberries. Either way, that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!